This show is brought to you by Ridley College.
Do you ever feel that you're kind of lost and you've got this weight upon your shoulders so that you're fearful about the future and you just don't know where to go? Well, Dante gives us an allegory about his own spiritual state, and he tells us that that's exactly where he was at. He tells us, halfway along the road we have to go, I found myself obscured in a great forest, bewildered, and I knew that I had lost my way. It is hard to say just what the forest was like, how wild and rough it was, how overpowering. Even to remember it makes me afraid. I cannot tell exactly how I got there. I was so full of sleep at that point of my journey when somehow I left the proper way. Dante is making a strong contrast between the way and where he found himself. As a medieval Christian, he's saying that he has departed from Christ, who is the way, the truth, and the life. And Dante doesn't know exactly how that happened to him, but gradually he drifted. And then all of a sudden, he wakes up and he's lost, and it's dark, and it's very, very dangerous. But when I had arrived at the foot of a hill which formed the far end of the menacing valley, where fear had already entered into my heart, I looked up and I saw the edges of its outline, already growing in the rays of the planet, which shows us the right way on the road. There's a glimpse, there's a hint of light that lies beyond the darkness of his experience. And that glimpse is a glimpse of the city of God. He sees the rays of the sun behind the dark valley, and these rays indicate Zion, the city where the King dwells. And it's this glimpse of light that gives him hope. There is a king set on a hill, and this king will guide me back onto the way. And if I follow the way, I can reach this great city where God dwells. Immediately, though, Dante tells us that there are great impediments to him getting there. He wants to get to the city, but he can't. He's going to tell us about three animals, three beasts that are going to appear before him. Almost at the point where the slope began, I saw a leopard, extremely light and active, the skin of which was mottled, and somehow it managed to stay in front of me in such a manner that it blocked my way so much that I was often forced to turn back to the road I had come. He sees the leopard and he tries to avoid the leopard, but it's sleek and athletic and beautiful, and it's always before him, no matter which way he tries to go. He's referring here to sensual love that draws him, it draws his loves in a disordered way away from the city. That's the point. And Dante is telling us, if you want to go back to Jesus, who is the way, the truth, the light, the King who dwells in the city, you need to somehow get past this leopard who will destroy you. And Dante's scared because he doesn't want to stay in the forest. And immediately he sees hope. First, he sees the divine love. The divine love. He's reminded of it, and this is the love, and he writes, that first set the lovely things in motion. And this, with the hour as it was, and the delight of the season, gave me reason to entertain hope. So in the midst of his battle with sexual pleasure, which is distracting him from the city of God, again he receives a glimpse of hope. Again symbolized by the sun, he senses divine love behind the whole universe. And this problem, this leopard, this distraction won't hold me back. And just as he has hope, another beast comes before him, more scary still. of that wild animal in the brilliant skin. But not so that I had found myself without fear. When a lion appeared before me, as it did, when he came, he made his way toward me with head held high and seemed ravenously hungry, so that the air itself was frightened of him. He then sees the proud lion who marches toward him, and Dante realizes it's not just disordered love, as Augustine said, that leads us away from God. It's also pride. This is the first sin. This is the sin that lies behind the rejection of God. It's pride that's going to stop him getting back on the way. It's his own pride that won't admit that he's lost. It's his own pride that will say, hey, I'm okay by myself. I can make it back myself. Dante has to leave his pride behind if he's going to admit that he's lost, that he needs a guide, he needs help. He needs divine love and divine grace to get back on the way. Immediately though, there comes a third one, the she-wolf. She is just as dangerous as the two other beasts that are impeding Dante's way home to the city of God. And he writes, and a she-wolf who seemed in her thinness to have nothing but excessive appetites. And she had already made many miserable. She weighed down so heavily upon me with that fear which issued from her image that I lost hope of climbing toward the top of that hill. And like a man whose mind is on his winnings, when the time comes for him to lose, with all his thoughts turn into sorrow and tears. So I was transformed by that restless animal who came against me and gradually draw me down, back to the region where the sun is silent. Ambition weighs so heavily on Dante that he realizes that he is like a gambler who has lost everything. He knows that this is a beast, a temptation, that he cannot defeat on his own. Do you ever feel that there are temptations, loves in your life that you can't defeat on your own? That you, like Dante, like the gambler, perhaps you've lost everything, and now all that's available to you is to turn to loss and acknowledge your sorrow. Well, that's where Dante leaves us. He leaves us on a cliffhanger. How will Dante, how will you get out of the forest, find your way, and reach the city of God?